Hey, good morning, everyone. Today is February 17th, 2014. Um, Today we're going to be talking about the story of Jonah. Jonah the whale. You probably heard about it. You probably heard it if you were growing up in church or you've been to church as a kid. You remember learning about it in Sunday school, and just it's a very known story from the Bible. I kind of want to look at it as a little bit different way, I'd say, in the story, but it'll be something I think we can all get out of it. I'll close kind of with a little bit of wrapping up with the video. So with that, we're gonna start right now. Here we go. Okay, so we here's this man Jonah. Okay, Jonah was told by God, commanded by God, to go to Nineveh and preach against the city, because here Nineveh was this city of just full of wickedness and sinful ways. Um, as we see that when God told Jonah to go, we see that actually Jonah actually went the opposite way to and heads towards Tarshish, which is basically the opposite way, and somehow he ends up at a ship port in Joppa, where he gets on the ship and they set sail towards Tarshish. As they're heading towards the this big towards Tarshish, there's a big storm that comes, and the storm kind of just it just kind of comes out of nowhere. It just kind of there's just a big storm, and it's the winds are going and everything like that, and you see that as the storm approaches, these guys on the ship are the crew members are going nuts and they start praying to their gods and to ask them to rescue them. And here's Jonah. Jonah goes under the boat and goes to sleep. And soon they run down there. They wake Jonah up. They say, "Hey, you got to get back up here." So then they cast lots. And the lot fell on Jonah and just kind of who they needed to blame, who was the cause of whose God was mad at this person. And like I said, it fell on Jonah, and the Jonah says, "Well, in order for this storm to calm, you got to throw me over throw me over into the water." But they kind of didn't want to do that right at first, so they kind of let the storm just keep going, and they thought it would fade out. They started throwing cargo overboard and throwing this and that. And soon they got to the point to where they said, "Okay, let's just throw Jonah over the water." So they throw him in the water, and suddenly everything just becomes calm. Everything becomes calm. The wind stopped, the water stopped. And then as Jonah is growing, they're floating in the water. This big God provides this big fish that comes and swallows Jonah up in his belly, and Jonah stays in the fish for 3 days and 3 nights. See, after during that time, as Jonah's in the fish, he prays to God to help him and direct him in the way that to rescue him, and he asked for forgiveness from God for not following what God had said. After those 3 days and 3 nights, Jonah is spit out of the fish and spit onto the dry land. Doesn't say how far he was spit, so it just says that he was spit onto dry land. When Jonah gets on dry land, he stops and says, God commands him again, "Hey, go to Nineveh and preach to them." And so Jonah heads to Nineveh, and when Jonah got to Nineveh, it says in the Bible that Nineveh was so big it took 3 days to get from one side of the town to the other side of the town. As Jonah's there in Nineveh, he preaches against these people, warning them that if they don't turn from their sinful ways, that they are going to be that God would destroy Nineveh. And people, after Jonah, shares with them the gospel, shares about God and preaches to them, they turn to God, and they are rescued. He saves them. The city's not destroyed. And that's kind of the overall quick summary of the story of Jonah. Some points we can kind of look at when we go through that story is this. You see three things. You see God spared the sailors, and see, when the sailors, they asked for mercy, and God provided mercy to them. God saved Jonah when he prayed from inside the fish. God saved the people of Nineveh when they responded to what Jonah was preaching. They looked to him, and he spared the lives of all those people in Nineveh. See, God answers the prayers of those who call on him. When we pray to him, he answers our prayers. It may not be in our timing, it may not be how we want it, but it's in God's timing. See, God will always work his will. See, God doesn't not fulfill his will. When God says he's going to do something, he doesn't. You see, we can be saved if we listen to God's warning to us through his word. If we respond in obedience, God will guide us. He will be our guidance, and we will have his mercy, not his punishment towards us. We will have the mercy that he provided, not the punishment. So with that, we're going to kind of wrap up for today. I got one more thing to kind of announce. I just came out with a new book called Purpose, with a question mark in the title. It's called Purpose there's a question mark. And I got that available on Amazon.com. I got it available on Amazon Kindle as well. So if you want to check that out, want to purchase it, go ahead. It's just a book about just kind of what I've gone through in life, to where I think it would be able to touch, or I think everyone would be able to get something out of it, to where it would be just an encouragement for those who have gone through trials and things, that you can overcome those, and that God has a purpose for your life. So with that, I'm going to wrap up for today, and you all have a great Monday, and I will see you all back here tomorrow.